Hey, what's going on guys? My name is Richard Moglen and welcome to the weekly Watchlist video. This is a series where each and every weekend I provide you with my focus list for the upcoming trading week. And I go through and look at their charts and fundamentals and kind of explain my process and why I chose to focus on these stocks. And this is all based on kind of the CanSlim approach, which I have a video, which I'll link below, that explains step by step kind of what I look for in a stock. And if you want to learn more about it, I will be giving away How to Make Money in Stocks from William O'Neill, which kind of goes through the whole process in depth. Some nice people at investors.com were willing to give me a couple copies to give away for you guys. So if you want to be entered to win this copy, go ahead and comment down below about what your favorite trading book is and why. And while you're down there, make sure you leave a like on the video. I would really appreciate it. But let's get along with the weekly watch list video. So we've got 16 stocks that I'm looking at this week. We've got Axon, AMAT, CDLX, Dexcom, Garmin, PFGC, PFSI, PRNMB, RDNT, SAFE, SE, SEDGE, TTD, VAC, VBTX, and XP. And now we'll go through the charts of each of these stocks. And then after that, we'll go through my fundamental data sheet, which will be linked below in the description, and kind of look at the EPS growth, sales growth, return equity, all of the important things that I look at when deciding which stocks are good fundamentally. So let's go ahead and start with the charts. First, looking at Axon, you can see it's very close to breaking through this green line that set way back in July of 2018. And you can see it actually failed doing this on two separate occasions. But after some selling here, it did rally nicely and it's up right against this green line once again. AMAT, you can see, is also close to breaking through resistance that it set right here. And it's in a nice overall uptrend after rallying nicely throughout 2019. CDLX is a stock that I highlighted, I think 2 weeks ago, and it broke through this resistance that I saw and then jumped up in a big way, 25% on Monday the 13th. And now it's kind of consolidating that move, tightening up on this right-hand side and potentially offering another entry point. And I would like to see it start moving up, maybe form a green dot right here, and then burst through this 90.5 level on above average volume. Dexcom is one from last week. And you can see it never really broke through this 242 level, which is the one I was watching. So once again, I want to see it break through this level on above average volume. But like the others, it's near all-time highs and it's in a sustained uptrend. Garmin is a new one from this list. And what I really liked about it is on this past Friday, it had some really good moves. You can see it's supported by volume, almost twice the daily average volume. And it's very close to breaking through this 100 level almost. And I would like to see it early into next week, move through that and have some follow through days. PFGC, once again, is very close to all-time highs and formed a green dot on this past Friday, which is a promising sign. So I would like to see some more follow on with volume and a breakthrough of this 52.68 level. PFSI, you can see, is another from last week. And it's still just kind of going sideways and just kind of oscillating back and forth in this Darvis box. I would like to see it kind of become a little less volatile. Right now you can see there's some big swings during the day. But if it really tightens up and then starts moving up, I would like to see it move through this 34.67 level. PRNB, you can see, actually broke out this past Friday after some nice possible entry points with Bollinger Band bounces and also a green dot on Wednesday. And you can see the above average volume coming in on Thursday and Friday. And next week, I just want to see some follow on with some volume in support. Now we've got RDNT, which is also right near all-time highs. And you can see that on this past Friday, we had a green dot entry and also above average volume compared to the previous days. And I do like that while it's going sideways, that volume is a lot less than normal. And you can see it jumped up in a big way here and has been kind of just moving up slowly ever since that date. Safe is another stock that was previously on my watch list before it broke out right here. And now it's just kind of coming up once again near a buy point. And I want to see it move through this 43.01 level on above average volume. SC is also near all-time highs, and it's a recent IPO, which I definitely like just because there's more room for growth within the company. But you've got the green dot entry on this past Thursday and another move up on this past Friday. So I want to see some volume coming in as it really makes a nice move upwards. Now we've got Sedged, which I highlighted earlier, but you can see after this kind of cup and handle right here, it's now stalling for a bit during the previous week, and I want to see it move through this 106 level with volume in support. TTD is another one from this past week, and you can see it's kind of forming a cup and handle pattern after a nice uptrend, and maybe if it starts forming this handle and starts moving up and has a green dot entry around here, you can kind of cheat and get in early. But otherwise, the good buy point is either the green line breakouts or kind of a closed 10 cents above the handle, which would be around 293. Next, we've got VAC, which is not at all-time highs, but it is at a 52-week all-time high. And it moved up nicely and is now kind of going sideways and consolidating just how I like it. And I want to see it move through this 131 level with some volume. Next, we've got VBTX, which is also not at all-time highs, but it is consolidating nicely after this big move. And once again, I feel like I keep saying this, but I want to see it move through this level right here on above average volume. And finally, we've got XP, one of the promising IPOs I talked about last week. And once again, I want to see it move through the 40.5 level on above average volume. So now that we've talked about the technicals of all these different stocks, I want to move on to the fundamentals. And what I like to focus on is EPS growth, sales growth, good return on equity, after-tax margins, and of course the IBD ratings. And before we actually do that, I do want to ask you to take the time to right now comment down below 3 stocks that you are looking at during the next trading week. It's always good to spread ideas with other people and help each other out. But let's go ahead and move on to the fundamentals. So starting down the list, you can see I've got them ordered based on their total score, which I've gotten rid of those columns. But the link to this file will be in the description below. So feel free to go through all these and kind of look at how well rated the stocks you're looking at are. But starting from the top, we've got SEDG, which is always near the top. It's got really good IBD ratings. And you can see that the estimates for the current quarter are 67%, which is excellent. And you've got sales percent change last quarter up 74%, which is fantastic. And it's also got really good return on equity and after-tax margins. And actually, I should have mentioned this earlier, but we're getting into earnings weeks. So make sure with any stock that you're looking at, you check when the EPS due date is. And you should have a plan about whether or not you would hold through earnings. And my suggestion would be don't unless you have a sizable gain in that stock, because you never really know what's going to happen no matter what the estimates say. So this column right here has the EPS due date, but make sure you check that for each of your stocks. So next we've got Dexcom, which also is rated pretty highly from IBD. Its EPS rating isn't as high, but you can see this last quarter, it had a big jump. And this quarter, it's expected again to have a 33% gain, which is pretty good. And its sales are pretty decent, up 49%. Its return on equity isn't quite as good at 5.9%, and its after-tax margins are 15.2%. Next, we've got PFSI, which is also rated pretty highly from investors.com. And you can see its EPS numbers are very, very good. It had a 165% increase this past quarter, and it's estimated to have 152% this upcoming quarter. So very good numbers there. And what I like to see is that the sales percent change is also increasing, supporting that earnings growth. Its return on equity isn't so great at 8.3%, but its margins are very good at 27.8%. Next, we've got TTD, which is also ranked very highly from investors.com, but you can see its earnings growth isn't quite as explosive as the previous stocks that we mentioned. And you can see its estimates for the current quarter are up 7%, which isn't great, but its sales are up almost 40%, and its return on equity and after-tax margins are also very good. Next, we've got one of the recent IPOs, XP, which I've noticed has very good fundamentals for an IPO. And it's ranked very highly from IBD with an EPS rating of 99. And you can see its growth the past few quarters, as I mentioned in the previous video, is very, very good. And its estimates for the current quarter are also up an additional 100%. And you can see the sales are also supporting this with since they're up 84%. And its return on equity and after-tax margins are also very good. VAC also is ranked very highly from investors.com, and its EPS growth is pretty good with 39% last quarter and expected 73% this quarter. And you can see the sales are up 52%, but its return on equity and after-tax margins are not that great. Next, we've got SAFE, which you can see the composite rating is a 93, but the EPS rating is a 73. And its EPS hasn't been that strong the past couple quarters, but you can see that the estimates for the current year are up 67% and the current quarter is up 50%. And additionally, you can see the sales are up 92%, which is excellent, but the return on equity isn't that great at 3.3%, but it's got decently good margins at 24%. Next, we've got Axon, which is formerly Taser, and you can see the composite rating is a 94, which is very good. And its EPS growth is decent. You can see the estimates for the current quarter are up 375%, which is a significant jump. And its sales were up 25% last quarter, but its return on equity and after-tax margins aren't super great. Next, we've got PFGC, which is ranked highly from IBD, and its EPS growth this past quarter was very good at 47%. However, its current quarter estimates are negative 2%, which isn't good at all. You want to see growth quarter after quarter. However, its sales were pretty good this past quarter, up 38%, and its return on equity is pretty decent, but its after-tax margins aren't that great. Next, we've got SEC Limited, and it's not that great except for relative strength rating from IBD. And you can see there's no real earnings to speak of, but the estimates are up 68% for this upcoming quarter. And I do like this number in terms of sales because it's up almost 200%, but its return on equity and after-tax margins are pretty bad. Next, we've got VBTX, which is ranked pretty highly from investors.com, except for in RS rating. And its EPS growth is pretty consistent at about 26%, and its estimates are going to be 30% for this upcoming quarter. And I do really like that the sales are up 158%. That shows you something about the company, but its return on equity isn't that great at 8.9%, but its after-tax margins are pretty good at 27%. Next, we've got RDNT, which is ranked pretty highly except for EPS rating, and you can see why. Its earnings aren't really there. Even the estimates for the current quarter are down 75%. But what I liked about this company was the chart, and often that gives you an indication of future earnings better than the actual numbers. And you can see it's pushing into all-time highs right now, so it's painting a good picture based on the chart. But in terms of fundamentals, it's not really there. However, you do have a really good return on equity, but not so great after-tax margins. Next, we've got AMAT, which also is ranked pretty highly except for EPS ranking, and you can see why. Its earnings aren't really there, but the current estimates are up 12% for the current quarter. It doesn't really have any sales to speak for, and its return on equity, however, is very good at almost 40%, and its after-tax margins are also very good at almost 20%. Next, we've got PRMB, which isn't ranked super high except for that RS rating. And you can see its earnings aren't really there, especially for the upcoming year, and current quarter is down 300%. But you can see that the return on equity is 137%, and the after-tax margins is 23%. So again, this isn't really a stock that I picked based on the earnings growth, but the chart looks very good, pushing into all-time highs, and often that gives you a better indication of the company and its future growth than the numbers. And Finally, we've got Garmin, which is ranked again pretty highly from investors.com, has pretty solid earnings growth, it looks like. You don't have much growth estimated for the current quarter, but you can see the sales are up decently and the return to equity is right where you want it at above 17%, and the after-tax margins are very good at almost 26%. So that is both the technical and fundamental picture for all the stocks on my watch list for this upcoming week. I hope you learn a little bit from my process and kind of apply it to your own trading. Remember to comment down below for a chance to win this book. It's definitely worth reading if you haven't looked at it before. It's got a lot of great examples and charts that Bill analyzed himself, kind of explaining the CAN-SLIM philosophy in real time. So I hope this helps, and I hope you learned something from this video. And please, if you liked it, make sure to tell me that by hitting that like button down below. And if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that red button for me. But thanks so much for watching. Best of luck in this upcoming trading week, and I'll see you guys in future videos.